friends, and welcome to my channel. I am Beauty Heathen, and my channel is dedicated to the exploration of paganism through the medium of cosmetics. If you enjoy the subject matter or find my content of interest, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and set the bell to all to be notified of when I upload new videos. Today's episode is going to be a bit of a departure from the normal content. First of all, today's video is a collab video. This past week, a number of occurrences have been going on, especially in the beauty world, beauty community. And, well, not just beauty community, but others as well, which I will be getting into. And when things started going a little bit crazy, for lack of a better word, I reached out to my dear friend Wicker Mama, because she had been so kind as to recommend my channel to her subscribers. And in the same episode, she had mentioned that one subject that she has been interested in covering on her own channel is the overuse of the term bullying. And with a number of things that have gone on this week, well, have been going on actually for quite some time, I felt it was time to make this video. And unlike some of the bigger channels, I have the privilege of being a small channel, and where they have to be careful of what they say or the subjects that they cover, I actually have more flexibility than they do. Mainly because when I'm not monetized, so I'm not at risk of, having this video demonetized or losing monetization as of right now. But there's certain terms that people who have been monetized cannot use. Like, they cannot use LGBTQ terms and things of that sort, because they will get their channel demonetized, or at least their video. And for those who are not aware, that is one thing that YouTube is presently being sued over by the LGBTQ community, because a number of content makers have had their channels or their videos demonetized simply for using LGBTQ plus terms. And that's not right. That is not only censorship, but it shows extreme bias. And today's video isn't just a matter of covering the overuse of the term bullying, but I really wanted to take the opportunity to make a video that has the potential to hopefully get through to some people. Now again, I know I'm very small and I have a very small voice. But one thing I've always said is that all it takes is one person to make a difference. And even if all you do is touch one person, that's something. And that's something that Wicker Mama so graciously and kindly reminded me of before I hit record. As I've mentioned in previous videos, have my own mental health stuff, and one of the things that I deal with regularly is combating depression. And today was just one of those days where things just did not go right anywhere I went. And when Wicker Mama had posted a quote saying pretty much similar, at least, to what I just said, I was like, today's one of those days where I'm not sure I believe it. But she let me know that my content helps her sometimes, so I guess that's something. And I'll forewarn you, this may end up being a longer video than I even originally intended. I do have notes and things that I want to go over, but this is just one of those subjects that I'm probably going to have to stumble through some parts, and forgive me cracking my knuckles whenever my anxiety is heightened, so yeah. Before I get into a whole bunch of things, I'll say you might want to pause here, grab a snack, grab a drink, grab a chair, get comfortable. I know this video is posting on a Friday, so perhaps I can be your Friday hour of insight, I guess. And for anyone just tuning in, or for anyone who's maybe new to my channel, I use cosmetic practice heads with the beauty side of my content. The cosmetic practice head has already had a layer of hairspray to protect it per the instructions. I've put down NYX Professional Makeup eyeshadow base in white. I've also put down LA Girl Pro Coverage HD foundation in the color Porcelain. And then I set all of that with Becca Hydra Mist setting powder that I got in my BoxyCharm subscription. I figure I should put it to some use. And as always, before I get into the beauty side, do not look to these cosmetic practice heads as being reminiscent as to how cosmetics work on human skin. These heads, they don't have texture, they don't have pores, they don't have, anything that our normal skin does, like flexibility, or anything really for the cosmetics to adhere to. I do my best with the preparation that I do between the hairspray, the foundation, the setting powder, and the eyeshadow base to give the cosmetics their absolute best shot at performing well. But if you're looking for reviews on how cosmetics look, or how they react, or how they wear, this is not the channel for that. I highly recommend you go to any number of review channels, from Tati Westbrook, Jeffree Star, James Charles, Raw Beauty Christie. I mean, there's a number of them, and I love so many of them, so by all means, go there. But, today's subject is mainly on the subject of words matter. And that words have power. And before I get into my side of things, I wanted to lead in with a quote from a Psychology Today article that I found, that while words cannot change reality, they can change how people perceive reality. Words create filters through which people view the world around them. A single word can make the difference between liking a person and hating them. If a friend describes a person you are about to meet for the very first time as untrustworthy, you will be predisposed to view that person as untrustworthy, regardless of the person's actual level of trustworthiness. The single word untrustworthy creates a filter, or a primacy effect, that predisposes you to view that person you are about to meet as untrustworthy. Thereafter, you will tend to view everything that person says or does as untrustworthy. Now, granted, time and repeated exposure to a person without having experiences of them being untrustworthy can alter this predisposition, but that takes time and giving that person a chance. These days, that just isn't happening anymore. And I'm not gonna lie, it's really heartbreaking to see. It's hard to see a community that I love so much filled with so much toxicity and so many people bashing one another, and no one, absolutely no one is perfect. None of us. Every single person on this earth makes mistakes. Every single one of us. Myself included. We all walk through this world having regrets. We all walk through this world, I would hope, at least, doing our best to affect as much positivity in the world as possible. But lately I'm not seeing that so much. I'm going to start with the Ulta box, and again, if any of you want the links to the products that I've purchased for my channel, just let me know in the comments and I will try to go through and find any of them so that if you like anything I'm using, you can get them yourself. But in this Ulta box, it comes with this mixed palette, and I'm going to use the matte nude pink blush. And one thing I keep seeing in this community, and if you're not on Twitter, you probably won't know what I'm talking about, but where I've been spending most of my time on Twitter these days, I see it every single day, day in and day out, of just the mass exodus of people just completely and totally unable to show any kind of forgiveness for people who have made mistakes, people who have been called out for things that they did wrong. How Marlena Stella is currently being called out. And as much as I love and respect her, she made a mistake. She did something wrong. She is being rightly called out for it. Do I also see her side of some things? Yes, I do. But do I also know that falsely copy striking a video is ethically and morally wrong, especially if you're having a tiff with somebody? Absolutely. And it's against YouTube terms of service. To anyone who's watching this who's not a content creator, there's a part of the system that you can use called the copyright claim system, that if somebody were to steal your content and upload it in its entirety, as if it were their own, without commentary, without altering it in any way, be it a parody, any number of things that would change or alter the video in some way so that it's protected by fair use, you can copyright claim it. There's also aspects to it such as privacy claim and things of that nature. If someone were to release your personal information, any number of things. All of these are aspects of YouTube. And things that I've come to learn about in the months before I started my own channel. Mainly because I wanted to make sure that I knew the rules and I knew basically what you should and should not be doing. And getting versed in the law and protections that are out there is important, especially if you want to start your own YouTube channel. I am going to use a brush that is absolutely not meant for this highlighter product. It's meant to do brows. I have no idea at all where I got this brush. I'm going to guess a BoxyCharm. It's by Sormay Professional Series. It's literally an eyebrow filler brush, but I'm going to use it to apply some sort of highlighter. You know what? No, I'm not. Because I've actually already somewhat altered, because I've gotten into this routine of doing aspects of the face before I do the eyes. I forgot. I actually had somewhat of a plan tonight. Let me see what palette is going to work best for this. But as I'm sitting here talking to you, there's a few reasons why I'm getting into this subject. And it's not just how ugly, unnecessarily ugly, things are getting in this community, but kind of like a call to people to help it stop before it goes too far. In the past several months, as I've followed different things, I've seen people say horrible and deplorable things to one another. I've seen people tell one another to go kill themselves. I've seen people just completely attack one another. I've seen this is not going to be a normal look tonight. It's going to be kind of, I guess, avant-garde. I've seen people called bullies when, if something is bothering you or if something upsets you and you don't reach out to that person personally and try to ask them politely to change, or at least stop calling you that before raising the flag of it just gets so ugly. Sorry. It really just does. I've seen it time and again where one person says one thing as to how they perceive something, which, fine, if something bothers you, absolutely reach out to the person and say, hey, would you mind stop doing this? Because it's really upsetting to me and it really bothers me. And I saw that not that long ago with Rich Lux and Manny MUA's dad. I guess Rich Lux runs a drama channel, if any of my viewers don't know who that is. And I guess over the years he's had this nickname, I guess you could call it, for Manny MUA, who is a beauty guru in the beauty community. I enjoy his content. So I don't want this to come across as I'm a stan of anybody. I'm not. But the moment I saw his father get involved in this, instead of handling it as you would hope adults would handle it, it really got ugly, and it was like two different factions at war on a battlefield. You had the people who were completely and totally behind Manny and his father, and then you had the people who were completely and totally behind Rich, because even though Rich can be a bit dramatic, and I will say absolutely there are times that he says things that are out of line. There are, but I've never gotten the sense from him that anything he has ever said has been malicious or intended to be malicious. I haven't. I think sometimes he gets a little bit maybe out of hand with his being in character for his drama channel, because that's not who he really is. That he goes maybe a little bit too far sometimes. And there have been other things he said that I'm not going to talk about right now, because it's not for me to comment on. It really isn't. Especially where it's stuff that pertains to race that is not for me to have a say on. But, it just, in so many of the circumstances that I'm seeing are going from something that can be easily remedied or handled if people would just talk to one another like human beings with respect and kindness and say, hey, this upsets me. Social media has been so great in so many ways because it's opened up the social dynamic so much. But it's done so to the extent where people have stopped communicating with one another. We have a whole world of people who are talking at one another instead of talking with one another. And it's doing more harm than it is good. And I see it every single day where people are absolutely tearing each other apart. And they are using words with very strong meaning out of turn. And all that does is further not only exacerbate the issue, but it weakens the meaning of these words. It weakens the strength of these words to the extent that eventually, over time, if people are using them incorrectly so much that when someone actually comes forward and actually has a real problem, they're going to be ignored. Because that word and the true meaning of that word will have become so everyday conversation that no one's going to listen anymore. And all that does is hurt the people who really have real need and justification to use it. I mean, coming out and saying, Rich Lux is bullying me, that implies intent. That implies intent. And the term bullying or even harassment tends to have a power dynamic behind it. And usually the person who's doing the bullying has some form of power over another person. And yes, I know that Rich has a rather large following. But it's not even a tenth compared to what Manny does. And between the two of them, Manny absolutely has the bigger following and the larger amount of supporters. Do I absolutely think that Manny should have reached out to Rich one-on-one and said, hey, would you mind stopping this? Sure, absolutely. I get it. When people say stuff about you and you don't like it and you just want them to stop, just message them. If they're a decent person and they understand and they hear you out and they stop it after that, let it go. But don't start off with the attack and rallying the troops and rallying the villagers on with their pitchforks and the torches and rallying the war cry on social media before you've given them that chance to change. Because I guarantee you, if you were doing something unwittingly, unknowingly, that was affecting or hurting someone else, you wouldn't like it if somebody did that to you without giving you the common decency and the common, just the chance to change. And that's where a lot of people are going wrong. They're starting off with the initial knee-jerk reaction to attack without giving a person an honest chance to change before doing so. And that is almost just as bad as what they are perceiving as offensive. Social media should not be a frickin' war zone. It shouldn't be this way. It should not be every single day I go onto Twitter and I or any number of people are going, hey, whoa, slow down. This is going too far. I'm not the only person having this perception, and I'm certainly not the only person who's talking about it, but they're doing so on Twitter. They're not doing it on YouTube or other platforms necessarily. And it's causing so much harm. It really is. Not only to people on Twitter, but in general. One thing I've always said, and I will always stand by, is you never ever know what somebody is going through. And you never ever know what somebody may be enduring behind closed doors. Because you only see what people allow you to see. Forgive the background noise, my puppy is in the room with me. She's in a destructive phase, and I really don't want her eating my clothes or destroying another pair of sneakers. And one of the primary things you always need to keep in mind is what you say and how you say it matters. Because you never know how what you say and how you say it is going to affect somebody. You don't know if this person is barely hanging on. You don't know if they're dealing with any number of realities in their personal life that they don't tell the world, that they keep it to themselves and they keep it hidden down deep inside of them. You don't know. So when you talk to people, talk to them as if you would want to be spoken to. And that is something that message has been so lost. So lost. In recent years, especially with the advent of social media. People are losing their humanity. And I see it every day. Cancel culture has become such a vile and deplorable thing. I look at Chris Hansen, who recently had to terminate somebody he was working with. I'm going to avoid using his name, it's Vincent something, but they were working on taking down Onision, who is another YouTuber with a very large platform who has done some pretty atrocious things. And people were so incensed with Chris simply because he didn't act as fast as they would have wanted him to with regards to terminating this person's presence in the project that they were doing. And what I kept trying to tell people, and what a lot of people, especially people in younger generations, don't understand, is that Chris Hansen comes from an entirely different generation, and how they handled problematic employees and how they handled problematic people is very different than the cancel culture we so frequently see coming forth in online communities such as Twitter or Facebook, but especially Twitter. Holy crap. Yeah. It's almost every single day that I go on and somebody else is being called to be canceled. And it's getting old and it's getting really tired and it's being used way too freaking much. And it needs to slow down and it needs to stop. Yes, absolutely, we need to hold people to accountability. No question there. I absolutely believe in holding people accountable when they do horrible things. And anyone who's watching me now who follows my personal account can tell you I'm very loud some days when it comes to holding people accountable. And sometimes even when it comes to holding my own self accountable. Because like I said, nobody's perfect. But I see this community of people, and many of which whom I respect and admire, just every single day when somebody has made mistakes and somebody is trying to change and has apologized for what they did, and they're striving and working on becoming better and fixing what they're doing. Some people are just not letting it go. And they continue to lord over these people with, well, you made this mistake this time, so we will hold it over your heads for the rest of eternity until you die, is literally what I keep seeing. That kind of mentality. And it is so nasty, and it is toxic, and it is detrimental, not only to that person, but to the people with that mentality. Because holding on to that level of toxicity doesn't do anyone any favors, including the person who's exhibiting it. And all of these things, they just add up. And one of the main reasons why I was making this video and talking about how words matter and how what you say matters is just in the past couple of weeks we had a trans woman named Carmen Carrera who likened RuPaul to Adolf Hitler. To anyone who may be in younger generations who may not fully understand that impact, because I know a lot of schools have stopped teaching about things such as World War I and World War II because they consider it ancient history, which, if you are watching this and you are in a younger generation and they're not teaching you about this, I really and truly encourage you to please learn about it on your own, because it's very, very, very important. So many things happen in World War I and World War II that are lessons and atrocities that the only way we can prevent them ever happening again is to learn about them and remember that they did happen, and to continue remembering the evils of that time. Adolf Hitler was a horrifyingly evil person. He perpetuated a genocide of millions of people. And I know by and large the biggest community that attention is given to and recognized is the Jewish community. What many people may not realize is it wasn't just people who were part of the Jewish community who were kidnapped and carted off to concentration camps and experimented on, tortured, tormented, killed. Other people who were affected by this included people who were part of the Romanese culture, which, if you don't know the Romanese, a term often used for them are gypsies. However, I will caution you that they consider that a very offensive term. So please stick to calling them Romani. Then you had Irish travelers. Then you had, in Hitler's eyes, anyone who did not look a certain way. Anyone who was not blue-eyed, with blonde hair, and fit into the Aryan race deserved to die. So if you had brown hair, brown eyes, you were on that list of people who could be abducted and carted away to a concentration camp, if you even made it there. He was an incredibly evil person, and other people whom he perpetuated this genocide of include people in the LGBTQIA community. For those of you who don't know who RuPaul is, RuPaul is an African American man who has done a lot for the LGBT community, and he runs RuPaul's Drag Race, and agree or disagree with him. Personally, I don't see any harm with having someone who's trans be on the show, but again, that's my own perception. How he wants his show is he wants it to be men in drag. And Carmen Carrera is a trans woman. Forgive me, I'm trying to clean off this brush as best as I can. So if I'm shaking the table a little bit, I apologize. And Carmen apparently wanted to get on the show. And RuPaul didn't let her, because he wants his show to be men in drag. And because Carmen is upset about this, she called RuPaul and likened him to the Antichrist and also Adolf Hitler. Well, I'm sorry, Carmen. You're wrong in saying that was highly, highly offensive. Not only to myself, to other people within the LGBT community, but also, and primarily so, to the survivors. The people who survived from those concentration camps. Their children, their grandchildren, all the generations that have come afterwards of people who survived and were freed from those concentration camps and managed to live and be freed and carry that torture and trauma with them for the rest of their lives. And when called out about this, she not only did not apologize, she went on to say if she wanted to liken RuPaul to Steve Urkel or Adolf Hitler, she could. Well, I'm sorry, comparing RuPaul to a character from Family Matters who is a dork or a geek who laughed at himself and snorted while doing so is an entirely different thing than comparing him to a real world monster. It's not the same thing. And yes, what you said and what she said was highly, highly offensive. And she did not belong saying what she did. And she doesn't get it. Either she doesn't get it or she's purposefully keeping it up because it's getting her attention. Which, if that's the case, that is just blatantly disgusting. Disgusting. I don't know if that's what she's doing, but if it is, horrible. I'm going to use the first one was a Makeup Revolution blue and green color book. This one is Storybook Cosmetics Fairy Tale palette. I got this one in BoxyCharm. The other one I purchased from Ulta. It's not really wanting to go down for me. Let's try something else. And all of this just keeps reminding me of this Aesop fairy tale called The Boy Who Cried Wolf. In the story, you had a young shepherd boy who was watching a flock of sheep. And as time went on, he would get bored. And he would scream to the tops of his lungs that there was a wolf. And of course, people would grab their weapons and they would come out and try to come out and either kill or chase away the wolf. Only to show up and find that there wasn't any wolf. First color I used was Prince, second one is Castle. Trying to do a form of gradient. And he didn't just do it once. He did it many times. Until one day there was a wolf. And like he'd done before, he called and he called and he called and he called for help. Only this time, nobody showed because they got so sick and tired of him calling for help when there wasn't any need of it. They didn't believe him anymore. And that's the effect that using and overusing strong words or important words has. It weakens their meaning. It causes people not to believe the people who are using them, even if they are using them correctly. And I'm sorry, one thing you do not do is you do not compare somebody you dislike or somebody you're mad at because you didn't get on a show to a true, real world monster. I'm gonna go in with the silverish color fairies. Because not only does it hurt the people who survived him, but it hurts the comparison. Say there was a politician somewhere in the world, and I'm not getting into politics, so don't come in the comments saying, oh, you mean like X, Y, and Z. I'm not here for that. I'm trying to keep this place as calm and drama-free as I can for the most part. Today's kind of like a unique situation. I'm trying to just make a point because I'm seeing this becoming too prevalent. And say somebody was trying to bring attention that this person is doing really bad things and really hurting a lot of people and trying to bring attention to it and trying to bring attention to it, but people have gotten so deaf to that comparison because people misuse that comparison because they were mad or because they were upset that nobody pays attention. And then we have things like World War II that happened and all the people who lost their lives happened all over again simply because no one believed them, nobody listened, because it just got too out of control. And that's all really the point I'm trying to make. Words do have power. Words do have meaning. And if you aren't mindful of that when you go to use them, you can do a lot more harm than good. I guess all I really am asking from people is, if you're angry and upset with somebody, give yourself time to calm down. Allow yourself to... Sorry, she's like, I'm done with this. I want to get out of here. Almost, Rosie. Give yourself time to not be as emotional as you are in the moment. Allow yourself to become grounded and centered and calm, so when you express you're upset, you do so clearly, you do so concisely, and you stick to the point as to why you are upset. Because this is, I'm not entirely sure what brand this is. It's called Red and Black. Yeah, Red and Black Pro Cosmetics. I got this off Amazon, so with regards to using this product, enter at your own risk. And I only say that because of all of the fake cosmetics that are being tracked down on Amazon right now. Not saying this is one, this is just something I wanted to try. It's like a little loose pearl powder. And the main reason why I'm calling on people to try to be calm and concise when expressing your upset is largely because people will be more likely to hear you. People tend to ignore people a lot of times when they just go in for the attack versus when they really get down to the heart of things. Oh, thank goodness this actually had the effect I wanted it to. Yay! I'm so relieved. I'm actually doing something that I was hoping would turn out. Didn't come out half bad. As I've gone on this rant for just about an hour now, I'm going to try to conclude with just a call to people to be kinder to one another. There's so much ugliness in the world. There's so many people hurting one another and hating on one another, and for what? For what? Small and petty stuff that really doesn't matter in the long run? It's not frickin' worth it. Life is too short. And I'm saying this as somebody who has lost people suddenly. People I loved, people I cared about, people I never got the chance to say goodbye to. Life is way too short for this shit. It is way too short to perpetually hold these grudges and seek to hurt people or hold all of these hatred in your heart for one another. It is too fucking short. All you are doing is hurting yourself. Because I can guarantee the people that you hold all this hatred in your hearts for, 9 times out of 10, they've moved on with their lives. And all they strive and are trying to do is better themselves. And if you're going to be that person who, no matter how much somebody tries to change, that all you do is bash them and remind them of the mistakes that they made, you're no better than they are. Because now you're not allowing this person to grow and change. Why? Why would you do that? Give people a chance. Give them a second chance. In the long run, you will do so much more good by doing that. Stop lording people's mistakes over them, because I guarantee you would not like it if it was done to you. That if every single mistake you made was held over your head for the rest of your life until you die, what is the point? Stop overusing words that are important and they have meaning and people need to be able to use when they need help. Stop hurting one another. Stop being so fucking ugly to one another. Enough is enough. It's time to let it go. It's time to choose to go through life affecting change and to go through this world with the goal to do as little harm as possible. And that can only ever be accomplished if you become the change you want to see. Anyway, I'm sorry this video has gone so long, but I really felt it was necessary to really get into the heart of everything as much as I could. This is the look for the day. And with all of this said, I wish each of you healing. I wish each of you forgiveness. I wish each of you happiness, good health, clarity, kindness, generosity, and love. Thank you for sticking with me through all of this. I'm very grateful. And until next time, brightest blessings and blessed be. Good night.